Good evening. Welcome to the Hydrated Life podcast. Get inside your heart and find your personality. Oh, I'm Patty McGee, your host of the weekly Hydrated Life podcast and Facebook Live. And got some light shining on my glasses here. Um, I am an author of the book Hope, an inspiring A to Z guide for cancer patients, survivors, and caregivers, a massage therapist, life coach, and inspirational and motivational speaker. Um, I just like to help people overcome their past traumas, illnesses, disease, anything that's going on in their life that can be controlled but isn't necessarily helping you move on. So tonight, I just, want to welcome you to my podcast that helps you go on this journey inward to rediscover the essence of who you truly are. And we're going to dive deep into the walls that we've built around our hearts and learn how to let them crumble around us. So, over the years, many of us construct walls around our heart, and these walls are built brick by brick from hurt to hurt, past hurts, betrayals, disappointments, traumas. And while they serve as a protective banner, they also isolate us. They prevent us from truly feeling and connecting within ourselves and with others. And part of the Hydrated Life's inner healing is learning how to open up all that possibility, because we need to learn how to love others even through these struggles, even through the pain of it all. And I was just on a call with a friend of mine, and we were talking about learning to reach out to each other, to trust each other, to ask for prayer, to ask for help, and to be there for each other in these struggles in life. And these walls that we have, they might keep some pain out of us, but they also keep out joy, love, and genuine connection. They shape our personalities and make us appear distant, reserved, or even cold to the outside world. Have you ever had somebody that you try to talk to in your life and you just can't get in, break them down? You just can't get into their heart, into their soul, because they're so protective that they don't want to lose control. Or it may even be you, that you just can't enjoy that life. In my life, I trust people until I don't. Okay. So if you come into my life, I'm expecting you to be honest, truthful, forward, be able to hold conversations, especially deep conversations, to be vulnerable. And I will trust you until, something breaks down in the communication, or until I just can't trust you anymore. And people are the same way with me, if things happen that way. So we've got to really recognize what these walls are. And the first step in tearing down these walls is recognizing that they exist. We were meant to fellowship and to just love, especially family. I'm big on family. I love family. I wanted 12 kids. I got one. And growing up, I was around my relatives all the time. And that meant something to me. And so I just feel when you get in with a group of people, when you come around people, it may not be family, it may be just friends, fellowship at work, we should all work in communion together. So we've got to recognize that these walls exist and reflect on the moments when they've held you back, and when you felt numb, or when you've avoided them, to avoid these deep connections and conversations. And those are the signs that our heart is shielding from things. And what can we do? Well, what can we do for that? So you got to make sure it's essential to understand why you built these walls. Was it a childhood trauma? I talk about my childhood traumas all the time to people, because it helps you understand that your not alone in it, and that some of these traumas and events in our lives, we tend to remember the bad versus all the good that happened, and I use my dad as an example because my dad actually loved me. But because of a few things that happened when I was early on in life, that he wasn't there for me, I carried that with me. And these last few years, I've really worked on how loving he was to me and how much he really loved me, regardless of how he was brought up. He only did what he knew. So I had to find a picture of him and put it on my wall. It was of him hugging me and had his arms around me, because I just couldn't remember it, because all I was remembering was the negative. And as I walked through these steps and found the memories deep back in my mind, that, we went snowmobiling. We got up early in the morning and watched the guppies be born at 2, 3 in the morning. My parents brought people home for breakfast at 3, 4, and we all got up. We played games. We went snowmobiling together. So there were good times in there. So we have to recognize where we built these walls. Was it a heartache? Were you expecting to marry somebody and they came and told you, I'm not marrying you, I'm marrying somebody else? That's a huge trauma. That's a huge wall that gets built up in your heart. We've all had relationships fall apart. So do you have that? Is that part of what's built up this wall in you? Okay. Recognizing the root cause can be very powerful for you to change. So for me, all this trauma, everything built up, I turned to alcohol and used it as a coping mechanism. And it took me 37 years to get over that coping mechanism so that I could live this fruitful life that I'm living right now, that's happy and healthy and abundant right now. And I want you to live that same life and know that it's not too late, that you can do it. You can change at any time. Okay. So you got to let go and feel again. And how do we get that heart to feel again? Okay. Because it's not about forgetting about the past, but it's about not letting it dictate you and your future anymore. And that's the beauty of it. You can't let it control you. If things happened 10, 15, 20, even a year ago, how do you let go of that and walk in who you're supposed to be? It's about giving yourself permission to feel again, be vulnerable again, and to connect deeply. And part of that is not taking things on that you own. I've worked with a spiritual counselor for about 8 years now, and she has shown me how the things that I took on as my own back when I was young, 12, 13, 14, 15, that I turned to alcohol about, really weren't mine to take on. But the people that I needed weren't really there for me emotionally. And they didn't know. I didn't share what happened with a lot of people. I didn't share back then, nobody. I just started hating myself and moving, and turning to alcohol. And then I needed alcohol to be funny. I needed alcohol to talk to people. I needed alcohol to function after work. So in all of this, to open your heart up again, you've got to really recognize how to let go and what these walls are all about. Okay, so one effective way is through mindfulness and meditation. I have really taken mindfulness on in the last couple of years, last 4 years, really deeply, so that I can sit in quiet. And for me, I can talk to God, but some of you talk to the universe. Some of you, whatever you need to do that's healthy, whatever your belief system is, you've got to find that and trust in it and learn to sit peacefully and in it and know that you are worthy of it and that you are deserving of it. Okay. So you're giving yourself that permission to feel again. You're being in the present moment. You're observing your emotions without judgment. You know, how many times do we say, oh, quit being a baby, or suck it up, or do this? And you got to give yourself that permission to feel it. Because when you let those emotions feel and come out of you, that's where the healing begins. That's where you start stepping into your personality. Because when you look at your personality, who are you when you're around certain people? You know, I have one friend, when we travel together, we'll be near the elevator and I'll be making certain moves and stuff. And we just laugh all the time when we're around each other. And that's your authentic self when you can be that way. And then, you know, there might be other people that we aren't as open to and all of that. So what is your personality? Okay. So that you can feel that way on a consistent basis. Okay. So we have to embrace this true personality of ours. And when I stopped drinking, I had to figure out who I was. I had to figure out what my purpose was all over again, and how do I talk to people. And it was a struggle in the beginning because my family told me I was boring. Friends walked away from me. I walked away from friends. I really haven't gone and sat in a bar to drink in over 10 years. And that was a new life for me. Like every day after work, I was going at 4:35 and drinking until 9 o'clock. And so what was my personality now after I didn't drink those 3 drinks in 15 minutes to get that little high, that little boost that I got, so then I could be friendly around the bar and so that I could function normally out in life. And as these walls came down, you begin to rediscover the facets of your personality. I have a pretty dry sense of humor. I know that. I've accepted it. So all these little things that were hidden inside of me, to find the joy in the small moments, to connect more deeply with loved ones. You know, it's hard when you want to connect with somebody and they're not willing to connect, you know. And a lot of times I get a little too forceful. I would say, maybe that's how I would word it. But like if I'm out to dinner, I'm meeting people, and I'll say, hey, how did you two meet? And, you know, tell me more. And, you know, where I have to step back and let people learn who I am and feel comfortable. So how are you doing? You know, how do you do it when you meet new people? Are you the life of the party? I remember when I first met my group of people for church, and we were over at a friend's house, and I was sitting there in the chair, and, you know, I had just quit drinking. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know who they were. And I was sitting there, and my friend Annie, you know, we're really close now, but at the time she's like, so Patty McGee, tell me all about you, across the room. And everybody heard her, and I wanted to slide down out of the chair. I couldn't go anywhere. And I'm like, I wrote a book. I did, you know, and it was, now I do that to people. And so I have to recognize that, and I have to give people time to warm up around me and get to know me, because I'm way more vocal than I've ever been before. So as I broke down my walls, now I find joy in all the moments, going outside on a sunny day and just taking in the sun, sitting here reading a book, you know, going to church by myself. I connect more deeply with loved ones and embrace life with an open heart. And, you know, I just love people and being around people. And I hope you do too, because you've got to break these walls down. You got to know you're a good person. And no matter what you did in your past, that was your past. You should be a good person now. I mean, I just talk about maturing at 50 years of age and 60 years of age. Can you imagine? Thinking, you know, I was immature. I know I was immature. And so that's the beauty of breaking down all these walls and being able to smile and be around people and know that you're going to get through this journey that you're on, if it's a struggle right now. I was just telling a young man, I was on the phone with him for a couple hours the other night. A lot of things are going on in his life. And I told him to read the story of Job in the Bible. I use the Bible as a great resource because the stories are in there to help you. And if you look at Job, the guy loses everything, but then it's all restored. And that's what happens in our journey in life. There's many times we lose everything. We lose family members to death, to arguments, to judgment, to, health conditions, whatever it is. But then they get restored. Something happens and people come back together. They come back around. So you have to remember that each journey is personal. My story is different than yours. And you have to make it personal and find that personality inside of you. 10 years ago, I couldn't sit here and do a podcast. I'd be scared to death to just even talk about, anything in general. And today it's like, yeah, let's talk about this, So if you're struggling, if you feel like you're losing things, go to the Bible and just read the story of Job and see how it all fits together and how it can relate to your life. And I tell non-Christians, non-religious people, you can read any book as a resource and find something in it. Take the religion out of it and just read the story. Okay? For me, I love it as being spiritual, being Christian, whatever. But if you're not, just go in and read the resource. Don't throw the baby out with the water. Okay? So remember, this is a personal journey. Everybody's pace is different. Celebrate your small victories. I was just talking to my life coach last night. We went out to dinner. And I started going to a new church, and I was telling her how I was the only white person in the church. And 10 years ago, I would have ran out. But I'm mature today. I can go in there. They treated me with open arms every week. They're like, "Oh, you came back," And I'm like, "Yes," and we have to feel comfortable. We have to celebrate these small victories and know that every time we remove one of these bricks that we've built up in our hearts, that we're getting closer to our true self. And I am finally at 60 years old to my true self, and I understand how resilient our heart is, how resilient our life is. And it's never too late to let go and feel again. So I want to leave you with 5 steps, okay, to help you unlock this heart, find your personality, feel comfortable sober around people. And sober doesn't mean alcohol. Sober just means without a guarded heart, without protecting yourself or the people around you all the time, because that causes so much stress and disease and illness. Let it go. Just let it go. But the first time is to be self-aware and reflect. Begin by understanding and acknowledging your own feelings and emotions. Spend quiet moments in reflection and journaling. I just got 2 beautiful journals this week to celebrate me and to write things down. Go into meditation and tune into your inner self. Recognize the walls you've built and the reasons behind them. And then ask yourself if they're really meant to be there. Like, did you really need to guard your heart that long? Okay, because a lot of times we weren't. Practice vulnerability. This is so hard for people still today. Allow yourself to be vulnerable with trusted individuals in your life. Share your feelings, your fears, your dreams. I do it on the internet because I've been doing it so long now. But the first time I met my spiritual counselor, I just let little bits out at a time, little bits. And as I healed each little bit, we worked on something else, and we took down another brick and another wall. And I started sharing my feelings with the group of people that I was in. And you have to understand that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. So being able to talk to people and share that journey, because people need to know they're not alone, okay? It's a gateway to a deeper connection and to emotional healing. when you can talk about things. Have you ever met a person that you can't talk to? It's a very boring conversation and it doesn't last very long, right? So the third step, forgiveness and letting go. Holding on to past hurts and grudges can keep your heart closed, and it causes disease and illness. Okay? How many people have a disease or illness due to stresses from secrets hidden within that heart, compartmentalized, that no one's ever going to touch that part of their life again? And I had so many. Okay? Practice forgiveness, not just for others, but for yourself. I remember when I was standing in the kitchen of a friend of mine, and she's like, Patty, a sin is a sin. Whether you murdered somebody or you stole a piece of gum. And something clicked in me. And I was like, okay. And I forgave myself. That's how quick my forgiveness was. I was blessed by that. And it just opened up a door of who I could become, and understand that I had to forgive myself. And then I had to walk through that forgiveness. Okay. Understand that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or condoning a hurtful action, but it just means freeing yourself from the burden or restraint. So you've got to free yourself from all these restraints that people can't talk to you about this, and you can't go do that because of this, and stop, breathe. Not everybody's out to hurt you, and you're not out to hurt others purposely. We may, but that's what apologies are for. That's what communication is for. So if you feel that you're lacking in communication, get a good book on it. Listen to podcasts, read stories, whatever you got to do. Improve your communication so that people know that you're sincere, that you're vulnerable, okay, and that you care. Okay, so free yourself from the burdens of resentment of the past. You can heal relationships just by going and talking to people. There's some people that will not talk to you again, or that you don't want to talk to again. I'm not, that's for you to decide. But for me, I just love people. So the fourth step, engage in acts of kindness. Okay. Acts of kindness, whether big or small, can open up your heart. When's the last time you gave to somebody in need, like true need? Okay. It could be as simple as complimenting someone, helping somebody at work, volunteering, helping a neighbor. The one thing I miss in my life was when I lived between my two neighbors up in New York, and I would shovel for them and mow lawns, take care of them, everything that they needed, I helped them. I would go out at 11 o'clock at night in the middle of the winter when the snow was trickling down. It was beautiful out, and I would just shovel their sidewalks. They were pretty long sidewalks, but I just loved it. And I loved that act of kindness. So when you give the love and kindness, you also receive it. And I received it in my heart, okay? It creates a positive feedback loop for your heart. Whenever you're in these positive moments, continually going and going and going, it helps you stay happy and healthy and not negative and in those moments. Okay? And then lastly, seek professional guidance. Sometimes the walls around your heart are built from deep-seated traumas or experiences. If that's the case, then seek therapy, counseling can be beneficial. Seek out a life coach. I'm here for you, the Hydrated Life. I can do the small T traumas, the mother wounds, the father wounds. If you have deeper traumas of abuse, rape, those types of things, I highly recommend you seek out a counselor. And if you need the name of one, I can give you one. But speak to somebody, talk to somebody at the Hydrated Life. We can help you. Schedule a clarity call. Go on our website at www.thehydratedlife.net and schedule a clarity call. And I'll put that link in the comments afterwards. But it can be so beneficial. Talk therapy, paying someone to talk to, rather than wasting it over the bottle or a drug or anything like that, is way more beneficial, because you wake up happier and you wake up healthier than turning to coping mechanisms. And I can tell you all about coping mechanisms, okay? A professional can provide tools, strategies, and a safe space to process and to heal. And that's the beauty of it, because it stays with them. They don't share it out in the world, okay? So remember, your feelings and opinions matter most when it comes to your personal and professional decisions. It's about you, okay? They need to matter to you. So your opinions matter, and make sure they matter to you and that you stand for what you believe in, okay? Ask yourself, what big decisions have you been second guessing yourself on because of a wounded heart? What haven't you stepped into in your life? And I have to ask myself this all the time to help me move forward in my businesses, because I can get hindered by it too. Oh, that's not going to work, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not knowledgeable enough. You know, the other night I was on a nutrition seminar, and the presenter was going over all of the supplements that people should be taking, and she's got a master's degree in nutrition. And they're the same exact supplements that I've been telling people for years. The only difference is I don't have a master's degree in it. But we're reading the same information. And I walked away from that seminar and I was like, you know what, girl? You have a lot of wisdom and knowledge. You know this stuff. Get out there and start preaching it. So that's how I have to talk to myself, so that I can keep my heart open, so that I can move forward in the things that I do, rather than shrink back and say, oh, I'm really not, I shouldn't be doing that. So ask yourself, what big decisions have you been second guessing yourself on because of a wounded heart? And then write them down, journal it, and get through it, okay? And lastly, remember, opening up your heart is a journey, not a destination. This is something that we have to work on daily, sometimes hour to hour, minute to minute, okay? It requires patience, effort, and self-compassion. Celebrate each small step and victory along the way, so that you can keep compounding that joy and find that personality inside of you that's the true you, the one that people love, the one that you love, the one that you can sit with. How many of you do not like to sit with yourself, right? So I just want to thank you for joining me on this transformative journey tonight. And remember that our hearts are resilient. It's never too late to let go and feel again. And just keep listening to your heart and embracing your true personality inside of you. And don't hold back. As long as it's healthy and happy and whole, step into it. Step into it. I thank you for listening, and I invite you to go to the Hydrated Life and fill out a clarity call form, schedule it, and let's get you healthy. Let's get working on that heart of yours and break these bricks down one by one and start putting you on a different journey. I will see you next week. You have a blessed night and a blessed week.